Welcome to the Posh Act 101 for interns. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013 is a comprehensive legislation that aims at ensuring a work environment that is safe, secure, and free from sexual harassment to every woman. The seminal case Vishaka versus the state of Rajasthan had provided some guidelines for dealing with the cases of sexual harassment at the workplace. The Act now codifies these guidelines and fills in all the voids that were present. The Act mandates all workplaces to have an anti-sexual harassment policy, an internal committee, and a redressal mechanism. The wide ambit of the definition of the term employee is very important to us. It allows the Act to extend this protection even to interns, who may be engaged only in part-time or temporary commitments in the organization, as part of their education or experience building. Under this Act, the onus of providing a safe space for women in their workplace falls upon the employers themselves. Their responsibilities include assisting a woman if she chooses to file a complaint, organizing workshops and awareness programs for sensitizing the employees with the provisions of the Act, etc. Through a survey conducted in March 2021, we examined how interns, who are mostly university students, responded to questions about workplace sexual harassment. It was found that 47.5% of the participants who have interned or are planning to intern at an organization do not have a clear understanding of their rights under the Act. 63% felt that they were more vulnerable in a workplace as an intern. Alarmingly, 20.7% were unsure if their organizations had an anti-sexual harassment policy, and 46.5% were unsure whether their organization even had an internal committee.
Why are interns more vulnerable? 1. The temporary nature of their employment. 2. The lack of power and authority possessed by interns in a workplace. 3. The general lack of knowledge and information about the appropriate laws and acts. This is usually due to the educational institutions and organizations' failure to educate and sensitize students on sexual harassment and the related laws, responsibilities, and rights. 4. Interns fear retaliation if they voice their complaints, and they also want to make a good impression and have a future in the organization. This makes them apprehensive about reporting an incident of sexual harassment. How do I address sexual harassment? Recognize. The first step is to recognize that what you're going through is sexual harassment, and this can be done if one knows what sexual harassment constitutes. 1. Unwelcome physical contact and advances. For example, unwelcome stalking, trying to kiss you without permission, purposefully rubbing against you, etc. 2. Verbal remarks of sexual nature directed towards you or in your presence. For example, inappropriate jokes and compliments, demand for sexual favors, etc. 3. Gestures of a sexual nature. For example, exposure of any private part, etc. 4. Online sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can happen virtually or in an online workplace. The digital platform used to communicate is considered the workplace in this scenario. For example, sending graphic or pornographic images or videos, viewing or sending sexual material, etc. 5. This for that. Where a person promises or hints at enhanced career prospects in return for a sexual favor or threatens adverse career impact if you do not respond favorably. 6. A hostile work environment might be created due to the above mentioned actions.
The second step is to prepare. As an intern, there are certain things we can keep in mind or do to prepare ourselves. 1. Inquire if there is an internal committee at your workplace. 2. Know the sexual harassment policy and grievance and disciplinary policy followed at your workplace. In case of harassment, maintain some sort of documentation or timeline of the harassment and make sure you don't destroy or delete any evidence of the harassment. The third step is to understand. Interns should be aware that they are entitled to certain rights and protection while filing a complaint as well as during the inquiry process. Understanding some of the process might come in handy. Complaint process. Whom you should approach. Approach the internal committee of your workplace. In case the employer has not informed you about the internal committee, you can always contact the employer or head of the department or human resource department to obtain information about the internal committee. How to complain. The complaint must be in written form. If the aggrieved woman is unable to submit a written complaint, the internal committee will provide her with all assistance to submit the complaint in written form. An aggrieved woman can also file a complaint online at www.shebox.nic.in, which is a portal maintained by the Government of India. The complaint will be sent to the appropriate authority who has the jurisdiction to take further action. Another important question is when to complain. The complaint must be filed within 3 months from the date of the incident. In case of a series of incidents within 3 months from the last incident, unless there were proven circumstances that prevented the intern from filing the complaint within the said period. Interim relief. During the proceedings, on the recommendations of the internal committee, the aggrieved woman is entitled to certain reliefs to protect her from further harassment or possible repercussions. The most relevant relief option available to interns is that the respondent can be restrained from reporting on the work experience or writing confidential report of the aggrieved woman. In addition, other reliefs include transferring the aggrieved woman to any other workplace and granting leave to the complainant for up to 3 months in addition to her entitled leave. Confidentiality. Interns often tend to be apprehensive about approaching their internal committee and refrain from reporting incidents of sexual harassment, fearing invasion of their privacy and other repercussions. Therefore, it is important to know that the contents of the complaint, the identity and addresses of the aggrieved woman, respondent, witnesses, any information relating to conciliation and inquiry proceedings, etc., are strictly confidential. Penalties are also imposed for violation of the same.
Redressal. Under redressal, there are 2 options available. The first is conciliation. Conciliation is a form of informal dispute resolution that the aggrieved woman can request. It is mandatory to ensure that both parties have consented to the conciliation process. The goal here is to reach a settlement that works for both parties. The result would be acknowledging the act's inappropriate nature and assurance that such an act won't be repeated. It is also important to note that monetary compensation is prohibited from being a part of the settlement that results from conciliation. The second form of redressal is inquiry. Under the inquiry proceedings, the internal committee will inquire into the complaint in accordance with the principles of natural justice. Principles of natural justice entail that both the parties are informed about any important and necessary information or issue. Both the parties are also entitled to a fair hearing where they can present their point of view and respond to the other party's facts. Principles of natural justice also entail that the persons making the decision should be unbiased and act impartially. If the respondent is found guilty after the inquiry, disciplinary action can be taken against them, which includes withholding of promotion or pay rise, terminating the respondent from service, etc. Gender-neutral policies. Although the majority of organizations and workplaces have a gender-neutral anti-sexual harassment policy which protects all interns, the Posh Act only protects aggrieved women from sexual harassment. Therefore, interns are advised to check if their employer's policy is gender-neutral. They can also approach the grievance and disciplinary committee of their workplace for any help. In this presentation, we have tried to summarize and emphasize on those aspects of the Posh Act that are relevant and important for interns. And through this presentation, we hope to educate and raise awareness among interns about the Posh Act. If you would like to know more about the Posh Act and other related issues, please follow our Instagram page at Voice of Sasha. You can also subscribe to our newsletter and listen to our podcast, the details of which are given in the description below.